What is going on, everybody? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we are going to be doing our mock draft 8.0 with trades. So if you guys are new, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun YouTube jazz. We just breached 5K and we're getting close to 5,500 at this moment, so I would love for you guys to hop on the ship and join. Of course, if you guys have not already, keep saying this every video, join the Discord. Link is in the description below. It's absolutely free. I do stuff over there that I can't do on YouTube, like being able to do tape studies with you guys, being able to do fan mock drafts. That is all awesome over there. We already breached 200 people on that Discord, and again, I'm going to continue hammering it because it's only you who's losing out. A lot of people like to charge for it. I don't. I actually had a pop-up recently that said now you can charge for this. I'm not going to do that, especially not for a long time, because I think like my connection with you guys is the best part of this whole entire YouTube journey. So please join, and of course, give me feedback down below. Remember, don't be a dick about it. I want to make a mistake once, not twice. So help guide me because you guys are super fans. You guys watch your team and only your team primarily. I have to watch all 32 plus every team in college. So please have a little bit of patience with the slip-ups. But I've been doing this a lot. That's why we do a mock draft every week, because we're slowly getting closer to perfection. So pick number 1. There's rumors this could be traded. I don't think so. So there is a draft value chart, and we'll use it for this episode, and we've used it for the past one too, but it's extremely expensive to move up to the first overall pick. Now, could you see a team like the Lions trying to move up for Bryce Young? 100%. I think people are going to try. That's not out of the realm of possibility, but the value of like a 3,000 pick down to an 1,800, that's just so exponential, and that requires multiple first, and it just isn't worth it at a certain point, especially when you know next year it's going, yes, we say it every year, it's going to be a loaded QB class. This year, there was a lot of potential for the QB class. A lot of guys fell off, and a lot of guys hadn't even proven themselves in the first place. Next year's class, there's guys who've already proved themselves, like the way Stroud already did and Bryce Young. So we at least know at least 2 of the guys are going to be super studs, as in Caleb Williams as well as Drake May. So that's my little 2-piece there. Regardless, I'm not going to waste much time here on the first pick. I'm not trading out of it. It is Bryce Young. Now, I'm usually a huge guy against Chicago trading out of this pick. And it has nothing to do with Chicago ending up trading down, being worse for the team. I was saying, you're trading out of the top 5. You're completely shellacked in that case, because there's a good core 5 before you really start messing around with, guys who I like more than consensus. And I like guys like Isaiah McGuire so much because of the fact that I love that consistency. I love all that he brings to the table, but I'm not going to say that I'm taking him over somebody else. Does that defeat the purpose of a board? 100%. But I want to give you guys a realistic mock draft. I also want to put my little twist on it. That's why I include my big board. Now, I think Isaiah McGuire is an absolute stud, but I also know that he's not going to be taken probably until at least the second round. He's going to be at Mobile, so I'm pretty confident that he's going to be able to perform very well against those players in Alabama. So very excited to see him at the Senior Bowl. I digress. I think right here, the core 5 is Bryce Young, CJ, Jalen Carter, Myles Murphy, and Will Anderson. That's your core 5. You trade out, you're going to be stuck with probably Joey Porter at best. And this team, I would say, yeah, you need a lot more than just Joey Porter. Or you need a lot more than maybe one guy like Jalen Carter, who I love Jalen Carter. In my no trades mock yesterday, check that out, I ended up taking him there. But when you're gifted this card and you can still get more draft capital, you traded away a second rounder for Chase Claypool, so you're much farther back in the second round, I think it's very wise to trade back. And there's certain teams that don't necessarily need those 2 first-round picks. And that team is the Eagles. They've been gifted a top 5 pick when they have the 32nd, 31st overall pick in this draft. So for me, let's just jump right to the I'm going to pull it up for you guys right over here. We're going to jump to the trade value chart. Okay, so when looking at this, you have pick number 2, and that is worth 2,600 points right here, guys. 2,600 points. and we're looking at the Eagles spot, which is 1,700. So that's a 900-point difference. And technically 31 is 600 points. That's not necessarily enough to move up. However, let's look at what the Eagles do have to offer in terms of a trade, because I think they need to be the prime candidate for this pick. So obviously 2 firsts are on the table, right? That's logical. Essentially, it's a second-round pick with that 31. But you also have multiple picks in the future. I know the Bears this class has a lot of holes, especially like offensive line. The Bears also have a lot of holes at offensive line, but this class is very weak overall in terms of its depth at offensive line. So personally, I still have 300 points to make up. Usually that is around that round 2 area, and if we are going to project that the Eagles are going to perform at a super high level, I think it's very fair to say that you're going to ask for that too in return. Remember, this is number 5 from New Orleans. We're not asking for that number 2 from New Orleans next year. We're saying, hey, this is a number 5 pick, which is a free pick. Let's put that out there. Like, that's a free pick. And then number 31. So you're losing your first round pick. You traded back so many years. You have so many draft pieces in terms of draft capital. There's a certain point when this team is like projected to win the Super Bowl that you need to start spending it rather than saving it. There's a certain point where like adding more rather than like quantity rather than quality is not necessarily going to improve your chances of winning. And this team has very few holes. In my opinion, it has very few holes, and some of the positions it needs, like edge rusher, corner, they have guys in the later rounds that could suffice rather than that pick 31 where I'd feel a lot more uncomfortable. So it said this trade will likely be accepted. That's basically based on what you're asking from the Eagles. If you can see, if I toss in another one, you guys see it's literally based off of this chart, which is what the NFL teams use. So I'm perfectly fine putting this through. Again, does Philadelphia need 3 picks? No, they don't. And I want the Eagles to have the best chance that they can to succeed. Now, you could go Will Anderson here. And I'm going to continue saying this ad nauseum. This class is loaded at edge rusher. You're going to get, even at the back of the second, start of the third, someone who might be worth a first-round pick. It's that talented. And I'm going to switch back to my board here for you guys, and we'll scroll down a little bit so you guys get to see a little bit more. I know I'm a lot higher on certain players than others, but you cannot dispute at all that if you can somehow get in the late second round, which we still have our second-round pick, someone who is like, I don't know if BJ Ojolari will be there, but he has size concerns potentially. That could be one. There's a plethora of dudes who could be there in the second round. And Derek Hall. Derek Hall has been a freak. He's super consistent. Going to be at Mobile as well. Could rise his stock there, but there's a certain point where the market's oversaturated with these edge rushers. You're going to have an option there. Jalen Carter's different. And you've seen when you brought in guys like Ndamukong Suh, when you brought in Linval Joseph, how much that helped your team and how big of an impact Jordan Davis is to your franchise. And one, you get that instant chemistry. But two, Jalen Carter was definitively better than Jordan Davis. And they are an amazing complement. He adds that interior pass rush. And the easiest way to totally screw up a game plan is to destroy the offensive line, destroy the line of scrimmage in the middle. Because you can escape right or left if someone's coming off an edge. But if the inside is completely caved in and you have good edge rushers, you're going to have the outside sealed, and then you're going to have the middle ripped wide open. Why Aaron Donald is so damn dominant is because you can't escape him. You can't. You cannot scramble away from him. He is in your face immediately. And I think that's exactly what Jalen Carter brings to the table. You have that instantly. You have the pair, the duo, like Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. That's your duo for the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. These guys are incredible. Don't miss out on this opportunity because you want more picks. Just don't do it. Use your money in free agency. Like, you don't need to bring back Ndamukong Suh, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave. That's a significant amount of money. If you want to re-sign somebody like, why do I keep wanting to call Garrett Bradbury, James Bradbury, then do it. Use that money to be able to spend there. Use that money to get depth at guard. Other positions where you could try to address it with that first-round pick when the next year's second. I think that's the best use of your money and the best use of your capital overall because Jalen Carter is truly that special. He might not be ranked number 1 on my board, but if you see the difference between Jalen Carter and the next interior defensive lineman, which this team needs interior defensive line, it is exponential. And I think that going after someone like him at that spot, killer pick right there. again, I think it's totally worth the draft capital because you don't have that many needs. And I am not willing to just totally, I mean, granted, most of that money from the interior is probably going to go to Jalen, but I'm not going to sit here and let a unicorn and amazing scheme fit just completely slip by because Jalen Carter truly is that special. Pick number 3. So I usually like to end up going after CJ Stroud with this pick, and people lose their mind. And I understand that people think I don't like Geno because of that, and I'm genuinely concerned for some people because I do describe it very well in depth why I would go CJ. And I'm not going to for this one because I'm going to select Will Anderson, just a quick heads up. But I want to make an argument for going CJ Stroud. Similar to how the Eagles had this pick here. You're not going to have the top 3, top 5 pick if you are Seattle Seahawks. I don't know why there's this illusion that Seattle is going to be in position to strike for a quarterback next year, even if Geno sucks. The rest of your team is damn good enough to carry you to 500. And that's scary. That's genuinely scary. And if you are out of range for a QB next year, if Geno doesn't do it again, or if you don't want to pay Geno the money, which you wouldn't keep Geno on roster if you didn't want to, then you're kind of saying, oh, I'm going to go after QB5 rather than QB2 of this class. This is a free pick. I'd recommend going after CJ Stroud if Will Anderson is not on the board. But Will Anderson, again, you could get 85% of him with your next pick. He is just super phenomenal. He's my number 1 player in the class. I mean, I'm not going to argue against it. But you have to understand that CJ Stroud is honestly the best value for that pick. Pick number 4. So CJ is still on the board. And again, it's really hard for me to not just go CJ Stroud here. And I think I actually might go CJ. So this is what I'll say. With CJ Stroud, this is my comp for him. And I think this is the first time I'm ever displaying publicly what my comp is. I've done it in the Discord, so y'all get some early stuff there too. And you guys get to have some input on the scouting reports I do. But his floor is Jared Goff. His ceiling is Matt Stafford, which, not going to lie, this team seems to be really familiar with. And this team is damn good. You're not going to be in striking range for another quarterback. Jared Goff might be that much of a douche to where he literally puts you out of range every single year to get a good QB. This is the one time where somehow, some way, a Super Bowl champion is going to have like a top 5, top 4, top 3 pick. You could trade out and get someone like Will Levis 100%, but it's almost impossible for me to pass on CJ. Now, you could call up the Colts and say, you want CJ? We'll take Will Levis. We'll take somebody like down here at our 15th pick. We don't need him, right? That wouldn't be a bad idea. You could call Carolina and be like, what's up? What are you thinking? I think that would be a smart move for the franchise. You can pick up potentially another first, maybe put in that second from Minnesota, because I know that the Panthers are trying to load up. So you could try to do that because, again, CJ is on the board. And I'm thinking about doing that. Again, guys, if you guys don't know, this is all live. I'm doing this on the spot because I want to think this out. I will say this. CJ has never beat UM. He's never beat Michigan. So it'd be pretty funny for him to go to Detroit, to Michigan. They've seen him up close multiple times. They've seen him lose multiple times. Now, is it CJ's fault that they lose? No. I don't think so. I thought CJ had a pretty damn good game. His flaws, similar to Will Levis's, are very, very mental. It's forcing your read. And could you get out of that? 100%. But sometimes when you see someone throw a slant into triple coverage, you start genuinely worrying, what the hell are you doing? So I might honestly just say, let's tank for Caleb, man. Let's tank for Caleb. Let's get another first-round pick here. I think I'm going to test out what the Carolina Panthers bring to the table because Carolina, I feel bad for y'all. Y'all could be traded out, and I know some people are going to lose their shit over the fact I'm passing on CJ Stroud for potentially like a future first. But let's look at the trade chart here. 1,600 compared to 1,800. That is a very small margin. That is literally 200 points, which is equivalent to, I believe, a second-round pick. It's actually a third, but we got other teams trying to vie for this spot. I know the Colts should at least be listed on the teams here, and they are. I want to see, because I know the Colts might want to jump and get their QB of the future. That honestly would be really fun. I'm sorry, Panthers fans, But I honestly don't think at pick 6, I'm going to be super happy with the prospects on the table anyway. So what do the Colts bring to the table at pick number 9? That is going to be 1350. That is going to be about a 600 gap. That's roughly a future first round pick. Again, Irsay is dying for a future QB1. He's not been shy with wanting to spend a potential first round pick on a QB. I do think if the Colts end up doing this, I think that it is more than fair to be able to say this is a good trade for both teams. Again, the Colts get their QB of the future. The Lions get to move back, get extra capital. Then we might be able to get someone like Joey Porter and then be able to start kicking some ass. So I like this one. Again, you could try to toss in some pleasantries here. I'm doing this based off of a pure trade value, and I think this is perfectly fine. You move back, you pick up that extra first. You're being able to continue to build your team, and that's what you're really looking for. The Colts move up for CJ Stroud. Yes, it is a little bit outlandish, but I also want to test out new ideas each week. I'm not going to keep you guys watching a boring show that does the same thing ad nauseum over and over again. So having a team like the Colts that are now in quarterback striking range and move up for somebody who's a bit of a better scheme fit seems to be the best move for me. Pick number 5 for the Bears. This is probably going to be a spot where I love Peter Skoronski. You drafted a guy in Tevin Jenkins a couple years ago that I said was going to be a Hall of Fame guard. Didn't really trust him at tackle because he showed a lot of weaknesses there. But you took him anyways, and he's ended up becoming a really good guard. So I'm very happy with that. Peter Skoronski, I think, is going to be an NFL tackle. I love Myles Murphy. I know that this tackle class is significantly worse than the edge class. And I'm a big fan of Myles. Again, huge fan of Myles Murphy. Peter Skoronski is that type of dude to me. I think that, he obviously has that grittiness to be up north, to play in Soldier Field, and he definitely has the power to help out in the run game. And surprisingly, that's his weakness. Now, I'm not going to go into the physics of it. He has short arms. To be fair, it's not going to be the end of the world if he kicks into guard. He's going to be a really damn good guard if that is the case. But we traded back. We got that extra first round pick. Now we have more to play with, and we have now more that we can manipulate and build the roster around Justin Fields as well. Pick number 6. So this is the exact situation I hate being in for the Panthers. I think Myles Murphy is the best option, and based on the dudes who are available, I don't see a team moving up to get anybody. Like, that's the toughest part, is that there's nobody to move up. Like, there's nobody worth it. I'm going to be honest, there's nobody worth it. I love Joey Porter. He's number 3 on my board. I love Isaiah McGuire. He's number 2 on my board. That does not matter. I still have guys like Myles Murphy on the board. I still have guys like Christian Gonzalez on the board, Jalen Jones on the board. You have value that you don't have to give up future picks or more picks to do. So it is the worst spot in the entire draft to be. And I know the Panthers should probably be trying to call up for pick number 2. Of course, the Bears could have probably gotten Peter Skoronski if they were here. But at the same time, now because of the fact the Eagles are so good, they got the quantity of picks that the Bears need to fill a lot of holes. So I digress. Pick number 6. I think Myles Murphy still has to be the move. I know I want to trade out of here. There's a lot of better moves on the table. I know Will Levis is a possible option. I'm not taking Will Levis in the top 10. That's not my MO. So Myles Murphy is going to continue being the guy. Again, you're getting somebody who's going to be a day one impact for you. You value edge rusher very highly. I think Myles Murphy is just going to be a really consistent, good guy to continue to develop your defense until you find that one guy who can plug and play into the offense and be right. Pick number 7. I mean, Quentin Johnston is going to be the guy here for sure. That's the big favorite. But, man, I do know that there's so many big wide receivers in this class. Now, we've had quite a few guys return. And there's obviously rumors that, Keyshawn Butte decided to return yesterday. That's out of my mind. But, there's, there's going to be guys. There's going to be. This is a deep receiver class. Not very good at the top. This is the one dude who's totally worth it at the top, I will admit. There's Quentin Johnston's a freaking beast. But this corner class, it definitely has dudes. But there's just something special about this man. Christian Gonzalez. Now, he came from Boulder, and I already had him as a top 25 grade. This guy, even against Georgia, he got picked on in the first game. Literally against like Georgia versus Florida back in the 2020 draft. So back in, I believe, 2019, 2020. No, actually 2020 to 2021. Doesn't matter. Kyle Pitts draft. So I saw Tyson Campbell go toe-to-toe with Kyle Pitts and lose. But he lost really freaking well. He was always in the right position. Like, he was obviously a little bit grabby, but that's what you do when you're pretty much outmatched by a physical freak like Kyle Pitts. Christian Gonzalez gives me a lot of that vibes. And the thing is, I think he's better. I had an early second round grade on Tyson Campbell, and I was a big fan of his. And I thought that it was a really, really fun pick for the Jaguars. Now, I think Christian Gonzalez, being a true corner 2, potentially corner 1, very smart. Corners are very expensive, and he's a perfect scheme fit. So you know it works, and his talent is just out of this world. I love Christian Gonzalez. I hope he tests really well because he is one damn good corner. Big fan of Christian Gonzalez, and I think he's just like, it's my favorite pick in terms of a corner to a team not named Kelee Ringo, which is probably going to be this pick. I mean, I'm sorry, Cardinals fans. Y'all know if I have Kelee Ringo available, who he did get a little bit sliced and diced, it's going to be the pick. So Kelee Ringo is going to be the guy here. He played high school over in Arizona. I think that there's many options that you could go with here. Offensive line, I think, should be addressed for sure, but I do think that you can address corner. And because, again, super high valuable position, you do need somebody outside of Byron Murphy on that squad. And I'm tripping, Marco Wilson from Florida. Like, you need a little bit more substance than that. And at pick number 9, we got the Detroit Lions. I had to take a quick little pause there because you guys can't see, but I have another tab right here. Thanks to Alex Katzen being able to check, making sure that there's nobody new, crazy, who decided to return. Jordan Davis, leaving the NFL to return back to Mississippi State. He's going to be a 6-year senior. This is insane. Regardless, just wanted to make sure. I want to shout him out as well because, I mean, you might as well just show some love to the community. There's a lot of hate in this world, so being able to show a little bit of love for the people who help you out, always good. So wanted to show a little bit right there. Pick number 9. So here's what we're down to. Will Levis, which I'm going to be completely frank, I'm not drafting until pick 15. And so you guys know, I have CJ at 27, Will Levis at 31. I don't think there's that large of a discrepancy because they make similar mistakes. And Will Levis has some certain flashes that make me confident that he could be a true NFL quarterback. I really like Will Levis, okay? Compared to the haters, I love him. Compared to the lovers, I hate him. So there's I'm right in between. I'm the little bit of the moderator for the Will Levis hype train. So I digress. Pick number 9. We're not going after Will Levis with this. I think that dressing the defense is paramount. We need to do that first before we start doing anything else that's anywhere close to as crazy as that. And yeah, you got guys like Trent Simpson who could be a really fun option at that 6'3", 240-pound frame. Like, he's a hyper athlete who has a really good frame. But I know that Joey Porter Jr. is super special. Now, is he the same fit that Cam Smith or Christian Gonzalez is? No. But I love Joey Porter's ability in zone coverage. I think that his ability to just lock down a certain side of the field is impeccable. He's the best zone coverage defender I've ever seen. Just hands down. There's nobody that comes close. Maybe Sauce. Sauce got close a little bit. But I literally said on my scouting report that I actually have on the same sheet that I'm using right here, I have him basically being the sauce of zone. I'm a huge fan of Joey. He's there at number 3 on my board. I'll scroll it up so y'all can see. The proof is in the pudding. I am a huge fan, and I know that corner is a position y'all need. I know it. So being able to address with Joey Porter, I think is the best use of your time and money. Pick number 10. So there are rumors that Desmond Ridder is not the QB1 there of the future there in Atlanta. That's scary as hell. Because, one, I had him as my QB7. People ripped me a new butthole for it. I'm going to be straight up. I got berated for hating on Desmond Ridder. I never saw it with him. He ended up getting drafted. I know that he's probably the most pro-ready day one dude. I don't care about pro-ready day one when you have someone who is a pro-ready day one dude as a veteran, right? I wanted to test out the waters on Matt Corral, on Malik Willis, who those guys don't even look that good anyway. Sam Howell's in there. So it's a little bit concerning. Do I think Will Levis is the guy for Atlanta? No. But I do want to throw that idea out there, and I would love to hear your guys' response to that. But at pick number 10, I think you're down to two options. You need to go defense. I think that's probably going to be my number one thing to address. I think Quentin Johnston could be a really fun option next to Drake London, but I doubt you're going wide receiver in the top 10 2 years in a row. Not because you need it, but the value is there. But you got Tyree Wilson and Cam Smith. I think both these guys are really good scheme fits. Tyree Wilson is a freak. 6'6", 275, 50 pressures on the year. He's a monster. I'm pretty sure he's going to Mobile, Alabama as well for the Senior Bowl. That is awesome. Big fan of that. So I would love to see him against more of these high-end offensive tackles, which I already have. He's been doing better every single game this year. So obviously he's injured right now. That's why he only has 50 pressures. But he performed very valiantly, and I'm very excited to see him at the next level. I think this is certainly a team that would be very excited in the prospects of somebody who is of that size, of that build, of that production. So for me, I think that's the right move. I do want to say, though, corner 2 should at least be looked at. Cam Hayward, I know. He's there for another year. Is it Cam? I'm tripping. Casey. There we go. Casey Hayward. I was like, wait a second. I know. I'm a Steelers fan. I know Cam Hayward's on my team. So Casey Hayward, there for another year. Of course, that usually doesn't mean jack because either you can restructure it or you can also, cut them because the guaranteed money is not necessarily equal to the money that you'd have to pay him over the year. So you could save money that way. I digress. I think Cam Smith would be a really fun option. But I know in round 2, again, guys, you got to stick around for round 2. I'm looking at our pick in round 2, and that could easily be an edge rusher. Easily. So I love Tyree. Again, I have him there at number 14 on my board? 15. 15 on my board. Big fan of him. And I have Cam Smith much lower. But I also haven't restudied Cam Smith because I want to make sure there's some good all-22 out there, which, I don't do my re-evals before this. My eyes have shown that Cam Smith's definitely a really good corner. And the consensus is he is as well. I think that's going to be my pick. He's a nasty corner and a perfect scheme fit for Atlanta, staying in the same colors too, which is pretty fun. Pick number 11, Quentin Johnston should be the pick, but we have to start seeing it through their lens. And again, I want to choose, if it's fully up to me, I'm choosing Quentin Johnston 10 out of 10 times. Easy. I'm pulling that trigger right now. We're not doing that. So something y'all are very aware of is how annoyingly stupid this franchise is at drafting in the first round. And they like to look at what they're not doing right and be able to address it. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit more so you guys get to see a little bit more of my board as well. So there's Tyree Wilson on the board. And, back when you drafted Rashawn Gary, you just brought in, I believe, both Preston Smith as well as Zadarius Smith. Both of them are pretty damn good players, by the way. So, you drafted an edge rusher when that happened. You're up for a contract pretty much with Rashawn Gary, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's true. I don't know. I don't think you guys have paid him just yet. But Rashawn Gary's a phenomenal talent. Even if you already paid him, that's awesome. Your run defense not doing 2.0. Just going to be honest. That's how they're seeing it. I think defensive line with an edge rusher like Tyree Wilson certainly fits up that alley. He's a monster against the run game. And he's a really good pass rusher. And you can kick him inside. I do think that it's annoying as hell, but it is very realistic. And I'm not going to do it for this mock draft, but I really want y'all to seriously ponder that. I do. But I think maybe Aaron Rodgers just said, this is my last go. You're doing what the hell I want. We'll go Quentin Johnston. But I really want to throw Tyree Wilson out there. And I want to hear you guys' response because I've heard from you Packers fans that Tyree Wilson is the type of guy that you'd be looking for. Pick number 12. Speaking of another team that would probably be interested in someone of Tyree Wilson's skill set, the Raiders. Now, again, I think that there's a good chance you could get rid of Derek Carr, save $110 million by cutting him this offseason. Don't know about that anymore. There's a lower chance. I'm sorry for you guys. It seems to be like a very Kirk Cousins situation, except for this year's Kirk. So previous year's Kirk, where similar to Jared Goff, he's doing enough to keep his job, but it's hard to say that he'll get over the hump. Of course, you invested a lot in a wide receiver that is pretty much his college buddy to be there with him. So I understand where the pushback is in that regard. I do think offensive line could be a huge move. I know offensive line's been improving for y'all, but it doesn't mean that you can't solidify it for the future with a big improvement. I think DB is certainly on the table, but I don't like any of the options available for your scheme. I think Clark Phillips would be an awesome guy in round 2. That's not who I'm going to go after. Tyreek Stevenson would be really fun round 2. Not going to go after him. So Bijan Robinson definitely is in the cards. I think you're going to franchise tag Josh Jacobs, though. He's too talented to let go. Wide receiver, don't think you're going to address it. Again, offensive line, always on the table. Now, we could go Brian Branch and just say, dude, we have holes at safety. We have holes at corner. Hobbs can play in or out. This is a good guy. I actually like that idea. So there we go. I think that we talked ourselves into Brian Branch. He is way too versatile. I know damn well I'm going to be taking him with a couple teams that are coming up anyway. So that is certainly worth it to me. Pick number 13. Oh, Tyree Wilson's still on the board, and I know how, y'all get your gears grinded when I take Tyree Wilson. I love him, but I want to explore some other options here. I like the idea of Jordan Addison. Obviously, Brandon Cooks probably should have been traded, but he's been kind of a pain in the ass in the locker room. It's pretty obvious that his future there is pretty muddled. I'm not surprised if he's probably gone in the offseason or even in the draft. So I do think Jordan Addison should be on the table. Unfortunately, fortunately in this circumstance, you extended your right tackle for an extra year with that 5th-year option for Tytus Howard. That's awesome. I do think edge rusher is certainly a position I do want to address, and we do need to. But we have that second-round pick, and this edge class, I will say again, super duper deep. So you don't need Tyree. You don't. I think someone like Jordan Addison, I think that's my runaway favorite for this pick. It's a little bit unfortunate you can't get Bijan. Bijan's so fun. I love Bijan Robinson. So looking at all the guys available, ooh. So I know y'all got a hyper-athletic linebacker last year in Christian Harris, who's a very similar size comp to Trent Simpson. But this linebacker class is a little bit cheeks. And I know I'm going to get a damn good either slot wide receiver or something in the 2nd round, or the 3rd round, or the 4th round with Zay Flowers. Hell. But I don't know about a good linebacker. Let's try this out. I want y'all to give me some feedback on this. I love the idea of Trent Simpson here. He's going to test out of his mind at a 240-pound frame. Definitely has been proved week after week. Granted, he has a really damn good linebacker next to him, but I mean, he's improved exponentially, and he's an athletic freak. I think this is a good spot for him to go. Pick number 14, to the Steelers. My Steelers. I really like the idea of Jordan Addison. Again, we have multiple 2nd-round picks. I don't think this is out of the cards at all. I think Deontay Johnson could be gone. I'm not going to do it for this one, because of the fact that I did it on yesterday's mock draft, which, again, feel free to check that out. But I do think that should at least be considered. It should be. I think offensive line has played valiantly enough, but at the same time, I kind of want to test out the waters on one of these guys. And it's down to Paris Johnson, Broderick Jones. I'm not usually as high on Paris Johnson as everybody else. I have him around 50 on my board. I think he has a critical flaw in terms of being able to be bullied by a power rusher. He gives up ground very easily, and I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that at all, actually. I actually have become really big fan of Broderick Jones over very recent weeks because of the fact that the one guy who scared me on Broderick is now my number 2 player in the class. Makes sense, right? So Broderick Jones, I think, is going to be my pick here. He's just super consistent, very solid, good frame, good power. But again, when you're going up against Myles Garrett, I don't want somebody who can't even handle, Isaiah McGuire, because Isaiah McGuire is lighter, but he's not even as athletic as Myles Garrett. So, there's just, you see the disconnect. Pick number 15, I think this could be Isaiah McGuire, if we're going to be completely honest, but Tyree Wilson is such a good scheme fit for this team. I mean, he's just such a good scheme fit. When looking at other positions you could try to target, Jared Verse, he fits the scheme very well as well. It just depends if you want someone on the inside or the out. And to be fair, I think Josh Paschal is a little bit larger, so you could kind of have an overlap there with Tyree Wilson and him, which might push me towards Jared Verse, who should be a top 15 pick. This guy's incredible. He's my number 8 player on my board. Bijan Robinson, I think he's in the cards. You guys like to run a 2 running back set, and Jamal Williams is gone after this year. And he's going to get paid somewhere. He's a really good back. He's an amazing culture fit. I think Bijan could go in there. With DeAndre's inability to stay healthy, I at least want to pose the concern. This could be a very good pick for you. Of course, there's Will Levis as well. And I do like Will Levis. Will Levis needs to go. It's a fact of realism that teams are going to like Will Levis. And I think he's going to the Senior Bowl. That's going to be a big telltale sign. I don't know if this team really wants to test the waters with Will Levis, though. I don't know how much of an upgrade it is over Jared Goff. He doesn't have he's already starting off really late in his career. I'm not sure if they pull the trigger on him. So, with that being said, I think Jared Verse is a really, really intriguing option for this team. I know I can get an edge rusher in round 2, though. I know I can. It's going to be later, though. Let's get an edge rusher here. Let's do it. Tyree Wilson's awesome, but I think Jared Verse is just he's going to fit a little bit better if you want to continue developing Josh Paschal, who was a second-round pick last year. I love Jared Verse. I'm trying to find a way to put him up higher because he's going to go very high. He's better than Jermaine Johnson, who I really liked, but Jared Verse, I didn't appreciate how damn good this man is. He got back from health, and I just watched him every single play versus Florida Gators. This guy looks unstoppable, and I'm talking about top 5 edge rusher in the NFL. I should be putting him at my number 2 spot type level, and he very well might. I'm a big fan of Jared Verse. Pick number 16. Y'all know Jordan Addison should at least be considered for this pick. Again, I'm sorry to my resident Chargers fans who see Jordan Addison almost every week. I do want to pose Michael Mayer, though. I think Gerald Everett's a very good tight end. Michael Mayer could be that special level of talent, and I do know that Seattle apparently has been eyeballing Michael Mayer, which I wouldn't blame them. They have a lot of guys, but usually they like to use their tight ends for sure. I think this would be a good option for the team. It's a fun little twist. People like to go Darnell Washington. At least you're getting a good tight end in this circumstance. We're going to test it out. Michael Mayer going number 16 overall. People really do think that he is a generational level tight end, so it is fair to say he should probably be going around this spot. I want to see if there's a team moving up for a QB here, because y'all know Bill likes to move back. Jordan Addison is the guy who I'm very excited for this team. I know that you could have someone like Kendrick Bourne who fits a very similar role. However, I do think that, Jordan Addison's a really damn good player. Will Levis is on the board. There are teams that should be trying to at least move into position for him, because I know Tampa Bay would take him in a heartbeat. And I'm looking at New York here. And for one, you're keeping him in the NFC, so you're not trading him to the Jets in division. I think the Jets could be interested in moving up. I don't think that's the best move, but I would say the New York Giants should at least be inquiring. This is the best fit for Will Levis. This is my favorite fit. This or with Frank Reich. Y'all know it's going to work too. So he has Daniel Jones level mobility. He has a bigger frame. He has a bigger arm. And he has similar accuracy to Daniel Jones. So you're just elevating the potential of the roster by doing this. I'm not a fan of, honestly, the options that are falling to us here at 23 in the first place. So personally, I want to move up and be able to select Will Levis. Let's see if the Giants are there, and look at that. Lo and behold. Let's get the trade chart up here. So pick number 17 is going to be worth 950 points, and pick number 23 is 760. So y'all can do some quick math there. My brain is freezing. I believe that's 190, which is roughly a higher mid-third round pick, which seems to be exactly what is Bill's bread and butter. But looking at the way that they have this all stacked out, I don't know if necessarily another third-round pick is going to do it for Bill. The Giants have a lot of issues that they might be trying to solve this year. So I think they might be willing to mortgage future capital, and you're going to end up actually getting a lot more value here by putting a fourth-round pick in a future third. I think that would be a good option for the Patriots. You're not there yet. You're not within striking range. We'll just be completely frank. And I think this is a really good option overall. Again, a future third is going to be roughly worth the middle, which is about 200 points, which should be enough as it is. So adding in that fourth round pick, which is about 100 points, makes it roughly equal for both teams. New York moves up and selects Will Levis to be their franchise QB. I do think it's his best fit. I think that's a spot where he's going to have his biggest amount of success, and he can start day one. I really do like it. I know you guys want Daniel Jones there, but man, you have to look at yourself and say, what is really limiting us? Is it our wide receivers? Yeah, they limit you a little bit. But what's really stopping you from being a superpowered offense? I think it's Daniel Jones' ceiling. I really do. And I like Daniel Jones. I think he's a phenomenal guy who could just step into a franchise that probably doesn't have somebody who could really lead them. I think Will Levis has that upside. I really do. I really want that for my team. So Will Levis, going to be the pick here. Pick number 18, also another spot that could have been interested in Will Levis, is the Washington Commanders. Tyree Wilson's on the board, so I do think we should at least consider him. I like actually potentially going after Paris Johnson here. Offensive line has not been very consistent for Washington, and having someone who's hyper versatile as a left tackle who's young, can also play right guard, he's just played everywhere, and he's a top recruit. I think that he certainly would be around a lot of really good veterans as well. So I think this is totally worth it in my eyes. Paris Johnson Jr., having that versatility is going to be extremely coveted. Pick number 19, this is probably going to be Anthony Richardson or Tyree Wilson. I don't see many other options. I love Jordan Addison. He's a little bit small, but that's probably why he could fall. I'm a huge fan of Anthony Richardson to this team. And I know Seahawks fans would probably be like super stoked if he was there, but he's not going to be. This is going to be Anthony Richardson. It's going to say Hendon. Hendon's not going to be drafted by me in the first 2 rounds. Big fan of Hendon Hooker, but this is going to be Anthony Richardson out of Florida. So you guys can actually see, here's a quick little recap so you guys can take a peek at it. I know you guys have been asking for me to be able to reveal what happened before as well. Forgot about changing this back to this, so we'll scroll down a little bit more, give you a little bit of a teaser of what is to come. I digress. Pick number 20. Jordan Addison's still on the board. Tyree Wilson's still on the board. You guys ended up going after Will Anderson with your first. Another reason why I usually like to go QB is because of that fact. Whatever. So I do think that, I mean, it's not out of the question that you could go Tyree Wilson. You run a 3-4. You could stick Tyree to the inside and have Will Anderson, Tyree Wilson. Ridiculous. Not going to do that. I think Brian Bryce definitely should still be on the table. I'm not a fan of him. I have him very low. I have him in my 80s, as a matter of fact. I'm not very high on Brian Bryce. Unique frame, but that doesn't really get you to be a second-round pick for me. I think that, there's really not many positions I'd be too intrigued with. Like safety, I don't know if you guys would spend a first-round pick on one right now. This is a good spot to trade out. The more I think of it, the more comfortable I am trading out of this spot with 2 elite weapons on the table in Tyree Wilson as well as Jordan Addison. Again, I'd be pretty happy sitting here and getting either of them if I'm the New England Patriots. But looking at a team maybe like Baltimore wanting to get another Hollywood Brown, or looking at the Cowboys where you guys are trying to get Odell Beckham Jr. on. It looks like you're gonna. So that's awesome. But that's not a long-term option, is it? Like, is Odell really going to be that special? Like, how many years is Odell going to be that level of special? I mean, you could look right here at the Vikings. You're trying to look for, like, pretty much, you brought in Jalen Reagor to be able to be a little bit of a spark, but you're still looking for that final piece. I mean, hell, you could see Darnell Mooney pairing up here with Jordan Addison in Chicago. But I want to see the teams that are trying to trade up here, and lo and behold, it's all of these teams. And I really do like the Texans trying to make a move up here as well. Again, what have the Texans gone after in this round? They went after Trent Simpson as well as a quarterback. It'd be pretty damn awesome to be able to move up here if you are the Houston Texans. Because again, you already have, you can get after an edge as well, to be fair. I'd be pretty happy waiting if I'm the Texans. Not moving up with them. So we're going to be probably moving up with Minnesota. Let's look again back at the trade value chart. So what pick is this? Number 20, which is 850 to 29, which is 640. So again, quick math, I believe that's 210. So 210 based off of this chart is going to be right here at pick 76 or higher. We have pick number 93. That's a little bit tough. This team has a lot bigger issues than just one player. And I know you guys might want to mortgage your future. I forgot about the fact you don't have TJ Hawkinson's pick. I cannot, out of the right mindset, do that for you guys, but I can do it for the Dallas Cowboys. And I know that it's not the pick number. I know Seattle doesn't really need to have more picks, So that's why I'm going to be asking for a third next year, which, to be fair, I honestly don't think. If the Cowboys are going to be giving it up, I think it's going to be a similar package to what we just moved up here for from 23. I think it's a similar level of value that we're having to spend. So we're going to force this through. The Dallas Cowboys are going to be trading a fourth as well as a future third to this team. Again, Seattle has so many picks this year. You want to acquire best value next year. Dallas Cowboys are moving up, and they're selecting Jordan Addison out of USC. You made your best moves by drafting your wide receivers in the first. I think this is going to continue that trend. Pick number 21 for Tennessee. Tyree Wilson's still here. I'd be very intrigued. Bijan Robinson is still here. Teams need to be trying to get him. He's a stud. Big fan of Bijan. This is a weird spot. I'm going to end up going after offensive tackle for this team. I like Anton Harrison, a hyper-versatile offensive tackle, can play left or right if need be, similar to how Nicholas Petit-Frere is. You guys saw from that Eagles game, you guys need help in terms of being able to solidify that offensive line. Pick number 22 for the Jets. There's a lot of shit going on there in New York. Offensive line is just where I go every time. I think that should be the calling in general. There's not many holes on this roster. Antonio Johnson, though, I do want to bring him back into the equation. I do like his ability to potentially play linebacker as well. I just want to change it up a little bit, go back to the roots. We're going to go Antonio Johnson here. He definitely deserves to be a first-round pick. Again, I forgot to switch this back. Here you go. I love Antonio Johnson. He's here at number 16 on my board. I love him, but let's continue here. So this is going to be Tyree Wilson, I think. Super duper high upside, but you're sitting here, you're relaxed, you're sitting pretty. You get a guy who's an absolute stud. It is what it is, man. I don't think the Patriots are desperate for edge, but sometimes you can just get a guy who, you don't need to be desperate for. The tackle class, most of the guys I have, pretty much out of range. And I do like Darnell Wright to this team, but sometimes it's okay to say, we'll plug and play a guy for a year. Maybe end up with Joe Alt, who knows. But Tyree Wilson, it's tough to pass on a guy like Tyree Wilson. Pick number 24. This could have been Tyree Wilson as well. You still have Bijan Robinson on the board. I really need a team to move up and take Bijan. I do. And the Bills definitely should be within the category of teams that should be moving up for Bijan. Eagles as well, but we already traded away our Eagles picks. So looking at teams that could use Bijan, one of them's right here. The Dallas Cowboys could have been interested. I know the Vikings could be interested, but I think above all, I don't feel very comfortable. This could be Darnell Wright, but this could be the spot where the Bills are like, hey, we need to move up. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Getting back to the trade chart. Pick number 24, we're at 740. Pick number 30 is 620. So again, quick maths, that's what, 220 or 120. 120, that's going to be worth, that's worth like basically jack shit. So 120 is pick 127 or higher. And we got pick number 126. They say they're not willing to trade for this pick. That doesn't sound like right at all. I know that fourth round pick definitely should be at least interesting to the Broncos. We'll ask for a fifth rounder in the future, and we're going to force it through. The Bills trade up and select Bijan Robinson. He's the future. He's going to be the guy that you definitely want. Pick number 25 for the Ravens. I love the idea of Jalen Jones on this squad. He's not the athletic guy that you'd really exactly want, but he's a very versatile, very nimble DB. Just a little bit not athletic, but he's still like, 4.48. I do like Jalen Jones a lot. And I think he'd be a good fit for this team. More zone than anything, but there's just nobody in the wide receiver room after Kayshon Boutte left that excites me, and there's not much this team needs. So I think that's probably the best move. We might as well just see if Jalen Jones will stick rather than, send him to the Bengals, where I think he's a perfect scheme fit. So the Bengals are sitting here. Y'all are kind of like, okay, well, we're kind of getting, the worst of the worst. There's still some really good tackles on the board, though. I'm going to be drafting Darnell Wright, not Olu Fashanu, Darnell Wright out of Tennessee. He's playing right tackle right now, but he also played left last year. He's been performing at a phenomenal level. I think he can play both at the NFL level. And he's not as consistently dominant as some of these other tackles, which is why he's a good late first-round pick. Pick number 27. So we're back on the board. I do think, Like Brian Bryce definitely is the guy where a lot of people are going to clamor for him. Quarterback still is potentially on the table. I'm not going QB6 for you guys. The corner, no. Safety, no. Linebacker, I do think should be at least considered. But we have this pick right here. Oh, I mean, I'm seeing some teams that could be looking for a linebacker, but no one's going to draft Drew Sanders. I'm not going to draft Drew Sanders. Even if I do, I'll draft you guys a linebacker later. I got to go out of realism for Breezy because he's having so much first-round momentum. So Brian Breezy at pick number 27. That's going to have Will Anderson and Brian Breezy. That's a nice duo for you guys. Pick number 28. So I like going edge rusher here. I think Andre Carter, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, I think those would be the best. I think tackle probably should be the move, though. I'm going to change it up a little bit. I always go after an edge rusher or a tackle for you guys, and I know it's your biggest need, but I want to change it up a little bit and have a little bit of fun this draft. I like Andre Carter, 265, 6'7", boundary edge rusher who's a lot more speed than just pure power, the way that Karlaftis is. I think he'd be a very nice compliment, fits the Spag defense, and just overall is a really, really good player. Pick number 29. So yeah, we couldn't move up. We decided to stay, and overall, there's still some really good players on the board. You can still go some good zone corners up in this bit, but man, I'm not a huge fan of the guys who are available. And I mean, there's good edge rushers on the board. There's good wide receivers on the board. Jackson Smith and Jigba actually fits this team really well. And he could definitely be that guy who just adds a new dimension to that offense. Pick number 30. So we're back. And I mean, again, this team, there's just so many issues with it, in my opinion. And it's a really tough spot. So I do apologize for you guys being in that weird position. I could go actually after Drew Sanders in this spot. I do like the idea of potentially going a right tackle, and once again, did not end up clicking tackle, or the back to my board, so apologies about that. But looking at my specific board, man, it's a bad spot. You guys are just not in a very good spot franchise-wise at the moment, and, it sucks. But we'll make do. We'll try to find something to help out. I do think maybe a DB wouldn't be too shabby. I do like the idea of an edge rusher here. You can play Felix on the inside. You can play BJ on the outside. So, honestly, one of my favorite fits is my number 2 overall player in the draft, who is Isaiah McGuire. Again, I know that he's probably going to be a round 2 pick, but it's not going to be Adida Miwa. It's going to be Isaiah McGuire, my number 2 overall player. He's going to fit exactly where Bradley Chubb is. Yes, you have Jonathan Cooper in there, but I think that Isaiah McGuire is truly special. This is a good spot for him to go. Pick number 31, ending off the first round. Gave you guys a long episode today. The Bears and offensive line, we've already went after it. We're chilling. So that's good. I think going after another edge rusher would not be a bad idea at all. Felix seems like a baller. I do love the idea of Derek Hall to this team, maybe in the second. But, I mean, you have the pick of the litter. You can do whatever the hell you want at this spot. Does anybody want to move up for Tanner McKee? No. I don't think so at all. So, if you are going to be, selecting a good player here, I mean, the Bears need a lot. I think edge rusher probably should be the move to go. I think you have to have some form of impact on this roster. You have to. Wide receiver just isn't worth it right now, except it's Xavier Hutchinson. I'm not drafting him at 31 because I don't think the NFL will. Felix, I think he's just super versatile. My number 14 player in the draft. Definitely somebody who I would want to have on my roster. That's going to be a video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Check out tomorrow for round 2. See you on the far side. Peace.